Hi there, and thank you for clicking on my video. Just wanted to give a heartfelt thank you, first and foremost, to the people that wished me safety during the hurricane. Everybody on my end ended up doing really well. House wasn't damaged. None of the cars were damaged. Um, Dogs, cats, the bird, all okay. One of the dogs was their first hurricane, so she took it about as well as you could expect. Lots of loose limbs came down, but anything big that was like limb wise that was in bad shape, it had already been taken down, so there was no issues. It was just a bunch of rain where we were because we weren't on the coast. We're in the more central part of Florida, so without power and internet for a day, but everything's coming back to normal. Yard work, clearing up tree branches and whatnot is getting close to the finishing point. It's just going to be a couple of trips getting it, down to the dump and whatnot, and that'll cost a couple bucks, but nothing serious happened, so everybody's safe. But thank you for the well wishes. The second thing, just in terms of like being upfront about it, is I did monetize the channel. I don't expect this to create like a big deal of money, but if it can like self-sustain itself, I wouldn't be mad about it. If I can figure out where it's at. Yeah, I'm still so new on it. Like it's still saying nothing, right? Um so the fact is that just in terms of transparency, give me some feedback as you all watch the videos how intrusive it is. I made sure to not enable non-skippable ads. Because I know a lot of you leave me up like on a second monitor and listen to me talk. But you're not like directly watching the video unless you hear me say something like about a specific interaction, right? And I appreciate y'all that are listening because I can see the watch times. So let me know how intrusive it is. Everything should be skippable. It's supposed to be. Because I watch YouTube too, and I hate non-skippable ads. Okay, I hate them. So if you all are getting them, let me know. But either way, there's the transparency. I'm just looking for it to be self-sustaining. That's it. But as of right now, I don't have like a show your ad revenue page because nothing's there. And the CPM, this is the ratio. That's not how much I've made. It's just letting me know that like the clicks per thousand is like $6. So I don't know what that's about. Because the 6.46 is the total ad revenue, but then YouTube takes a cut of it, sort of like a Twitch sub or like a membership on YouTube, where it's a revenue share. So the 6.46 isn't even mine, right? Which would be a little bit easier. But if it starts becoming something substantial where it's not like, oh, like 10, 20 bucks, I'll probably do another video talking about it. But just, there you go. Alright, so we actually got a couple things to talk about. I made a list. That one's gone. Alright, so the Panzer progress, we'll start with that. Progress is going good. I'm on the second Panzer set. So by Tuesday, I should be able to give them out. I ran out of Panzers trying to make them, and I was able to find somebody with imprints. So now it's just a matter of time. I don't have to go farm anything. And the RNG on the Panzer was screwing me even with like the The little scent thing, it wasn't behaving. But anyway, so Panzer progress, everything's working. In like 30 minutes, I need to go start the third one, and then I got one more, and then it's just making imprints and gilding them and whatnot. Um, so that's that. Okay. I guess we can just go. Actually, Revenant Prime. Revenant Prime, what a meme. Got announced today, and was asked to give my feedback on it. As much as I'm probably going to use Revenant Prime, I couldn't be less excited for this set of weapons. Because the Phantasma, right, is a god tier heat weapon. But they nerfed the shit out of the ammo. And the other thing that I noticed is if you look at the passive when equipped with Revenant, Phantasma Prime is burnished with Deadly Force in Revenant's hands. It has increased magazine capacity. And it's showing a magazine of 15 and a fire rate of 12 already. So like, is this the 15 with Revenant or without, right? But the big thing is the ammo max is substantial. So I'm thinking, okay, so this is a little bit more crit chance based. It's 11%, which is a huge upgrade. Crit multiplier is 1.9. That's a big upgrade. Status per projectile is about the same. It's still impact radiation. But now there's like a screen shake with the Phantasma. I was watching videos on it. And to be honest, it kind of makes me nauseous. Like it's not even like a quick like it's a really quick agitated shake, right? But it's just enough. It actually hurts my eyes, and nobody could figure out when this was put in the game. Cause this was like the flux rifle, right? You aim at a pixel, you hit the pixel. So why is there a wobble? Right? But yeah, the other weapon. So it's an upgrade in terms of like stats, crit chance, crit multiplier, crit chance, crit multiplier. Um, the damage, not any better. But the fire rate and the magazine, you're gonna blow through a magazine in just over a second, right? Like it's super quick, and that means from with a full clip or for a full magazine and reloads, it's going to be what? 77 ammo max? It's going to be like 8 seconds of fire in order to get this charged up when it's a status weapon. That's the thing, is this only ever worked really well on enemies that you could stack status on. Well, what do you do about like if you're going to buy the pack, right? This is my thinking. If you're going to buy the pack, this weapon against acolytes and enemies that are status capped, where you can only stack up like 4, right? This isn't the weapon to take against them, because they're capped at 4. Why is this being nerfed so hard? Like, the ammo max is huge. Hold on, I just had it up. Okay, so the ammo max on the current one is 275. The fire rate, actually, let me I've got mods on this. Okay. So we go from 3% crit chance to 11% with the Prime. 1.5 crit multiplier to 1.9. But the Phantasma was always a status build. The fire rate's the same. Maybe the magazine going from 11 to 15, maybe the extra 4 shots is the Revenant bonus. The multi-shot's the same. The reload's the same. And the alt fire, though it does have an alt fire, nobody really uses it. Yeah, nobody really uses it. I mean, it's nice, but it's just... It's more about the main fire, right? Impact radiation still has the same weightings. And the status per projectile is the same. As mean as it sounds, I've been looking at this for a bit, and I just can't view this as anything more than a downgrade. And now I'm worried about, like, the monkey paw where they give you a favor, but then it closes and you get screwed somewhere else. I'm worried they're going to nerf the Phantasma, its ammo max, to be in line with the Phantasma Prime. So I can't even, like, steel man this the weapon. Maybe it's like they're gonna adjust it or something, but if they actually release it with 77 ammo max, this is probably going to be the first Prime release in years that I haven't bought. This is just so underwhelming. And then you got the Tatsu. Tatsu doing Tatsu things. Actually, let me pull up the Tatsu. The issue with this weapon is the stance. The issue with the weapon's the stance. Like, the weightings are fine. 16% crit chance on the regular Tatsu. 22% on the Prime. 0.4 more crit multiplier. 2% more status chance. It is a direct upgrade. Even the base damage goes to 230. And the attack speed goes to 1.17. It's a straight upgrade. And I hate the stance so much, I might actually skip this. Like, it's a monster upgrade. Don't get me wrong. If you like the dual-handed Nakanas, this is a really strong weapon. Especially for something like this. It's really strong. But I hate the stance. So, and then you have the sparks and whatnot with Revenant. It's pretty good. But the fact is that it's the stance that's the issue. And Revenant's Prime's getting small upgrades, right? It's a Prime frame. Yeah, the stance, the issue is this stance. It's garbage. Like, it was actually meta to run the Tatsu and like the pennant without the stance on it and just form the weapon up enough that you don't have to deal with the stance because of how bad this stance is. Like, I did that for, like, the pennant and the Livia, because if you don't have the stance, while moving, is you're doing basically constantly AoE cleaves. The stance is bad. In order for this weapon to work, it needs so much attack speed, it hurts my feelings. Like, it's a bit much, and the block auto feels chunky. And there's the Hespar effect. That's where they got it from. That yoink at the end. It's just it doesn't feel good. You need a ton of attack speed to make this feel worthwhile. But at least the weapon is gonna have like 17% increased. It's a massive upgrade across the board. But it's just I just don't like the stance. But if you like the stance, it's a god tier upgrade. It's literally a better weapon across the board. But it depends on the stance. All right, what else we got? So the Phantasma, we might be looking at a monkey paw upgrade where they upgrade the stats on the Phantasma Prime. Because Warframe's been doing that a lot recently. Like, if you all remember, they were talking about, like, AoE headshots, but at no point in time did they fucking mention taking max ammo off of Arcane Merciless. So I think there's going to be a monkey paw upgrade where as soon as the Phantasma Prime gets released in a couple days, I'm going to log in and find the regular Phantasma with, like, a third of its normal ammo. So it's a huge thing. It's a huge nerf. And the Phantasma, the problem is the Phantasma has such high fire rate. You burn through ammo anyway. And you need stacks to get it to work. I don't understand this. But, like, from the point of view of, like, somebody who actually spends money on Warframe, like, I don't buy things in game besides, like, cosmetics. And I'll buy the Prime packs. I think I might actually skip this. Like, I don't... It's just Revenant was one of the frames I was always weaker on, that I didn't really enjoy as much. They buffed the piss out of him. Mesmer skin is busted now. Do, like, an efficiency build, and you're basically immune for X number of seconds. Like, what's wrong with that? Totally balanced. But it's just I think this is going to be a monkey paw upgrade. And I will have to consider how much money I'm spending on Warframe if this is how they're going to be doing Prime packs. Because the weapons, you're supposed to be buying power, buying fun, buying designer stuff, but, like, the Korra Prime release, that was such a weak release. So I don't know what's going on. And anything I could come up with, it's just I'm genuinely starting to think about, like, how seriously I'm gonna spend money on Warframe with these releases. So, because it's just, this seems like a monkey paw upgrade. The Tatsu is a straight upgrade, but you have to like the stance. The Phantasma Prime, I don't know, man. I like the Phantasma. I've used it in level caps. It's a god tier weapon if you build it right, but you build it for status. You don't go crit. And you have to be able to spam ammo. Alright, moving on to the next thing. I don't want to sit there and bitch about that, because it's not released yet. They just showed, like, a pre-release thing on the dev stream. It's not the actual release. It could have just been, like, something they were testing, and then they release it with, like, the regular ammo, right? So, because if they start going after ammo so much, like, I can only imagine how painful it's going to be. Because they said they were going to buff bullet hose weapons and nerf ammo economy on the big room clearing AoE weapons. But the Phantasmas a bullet hose weapon. But if they nerf it 6 seconds, it's. I mean, you're basically picking up what, a clip. But the problem is that the Phantasma burns through a clip in a second. It's not like the Gorgon or something, right? Where you can sit there and lay into it for a couple seconds. But anyway, okay, so it was coming up. I made a couple videos regarding like spending, like buying, like frames for like helmet abilities. And somebody finally asked me, and I was like, man, that's a completely reasonable question. I've bitched plenty about what you shouldn't spend money on. So the exact opposite is, what do you spend money on? And the answer is pure and simple: arcanes. If you're brand new to the game and you just want like a really, really, really good start, but you don't want to, like, you do like a prime pack, right? You do a prime pack, and you don't want to spend like $100, but you're willing to do like 30 to give the game a chance. You buy arcanes. You can do. Well, let me pull it up. What's this going for? Arcane Guardian is 185. Grace is more expensive. Okay, for 1,000 plat, you can get Guardian and Grace right now. October 1st, 2022, for 1,000 plat, you can get these two arcanes at market rates. Obviously, somebody undercut it. They're trying to burn through it, right? Ooh, nice name, though. And this will practically make you immortal. For the regular star chart, it will practically make you immortal. So as you're going through the troubles people have tanking and like you getting one shot and stuff like that, between those two arcanes, if you wanted to put like 1,000 plat into the game, farm up, what is it, like 4 million credits or something, and buy those. And then when you get the chance, slowly max out a vitality and maybe get 100 adrenaline. And you will be set for most of the fucking game. Because you need something that gives you as much power. If you're going to wail on something, don't do Rivens. Don't buy frames. Don't. You could buy Forma or something like that on like a decent weapon. But if you actually want to wail on something, don't buy mods. Buy arcanes. And most of you guys know that arcanes are one of the quickest way to power creep a frame if you're brand new. It's one of the quickest ways. So Guardian and Grace, don't even worry about Energize. Just Guardian and Grace, it's 1,000p, and you're miles ahead of anybody that doesn't have those. Alright. Okay. Oh, game settings. Somebody asked this in the comment thing. Here you go. Aspect ratio auto, VSync off, 120 capped. There's those. Particles turned off. Medium AA. 4x anistropic, trilinear on. Everything turned off except for bloom, which is at 30%, so I don't get blinded. Because I don't want my GPU. I want a stable FPS. But if I turn VSync on, watch. I instantly go to 240 FPS. And in like 2 seconds, I'm going to hear the jet engine worth of fans on my GPU start screaming. And I will run around playing Warframe at 240 FPS V-synced. I mean, it looks nice, though. Oh, there they go. Okay, let me turn that off. There you go. Off, off, off. Back down you go. I guess if you're doing some recommendations. Shadows and particles are the two biggest things that jack up the resource cost of this. The enhanced graphics engine, I'm not gonna lie, I know it has this warning. But if you're not using the lighting, shadow, and reflections that the enhanced graphic engine is actually basically there for, the game actually feels like it runs a little better. Because I turn them off. Shadow quality low. I have the GPU to make texture memory not a thing, so I just leave it on high. In some of the bigger tile sets, or like the open worlds, the VRAM can get up to like 4 or 5 gigs. Particle system quality, I didn't see too much of an issue with it between low and medium, so I left it on low. There's definitely an improvement on high. It's not super drastic, but I just leave it on low because you can't go any lower. GPU particle quality, like I can show you guys. Hold on, I'll turn everything up. God help me. I wonder how this is gonna. What is it? 75, I think is good. This game looks ridiculous at 100%. 100% bloom intensity. Oh, and also dynamic resolution. I've used this before. It's not that bad as long as you do like with auto, because it does selective resolution reduction, so it's all peripheral stuff. I didn't think it was that bad. All right, here we go. Maximum effects. Brace yourselves. The blacks look blacker. There's more particles, right? Oh yeah, look at that Phantasma. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I don't like the distortion. But there you go. That's what my settings were. Geometry is pretty good at high. It's not too difficult. Some feature stuff you could probably look at. There's if you're having issues seeing, I forget where the setting is. There's a setting you should look for where it's like teammates visual effects. Bro, turn that shit all the way down. Sometimes I leave it up, sometimes I turn it off. But visual effects intensity, leave this wherever you want. Like you can turn it up to 200 and be blind. But with bloom at 30%, I can leave reduce teammate visual effects to something like turn this off and see the game in a more natural way. But it's all personal preference, but it's the texture and the shadows that kills your GPU. So there you go, bro. It was such a random question because I didn't even talk about it. But he was like, "Your game looks sick," and I'm like, "That's crazy. I have everything turned off." Archon Crystal meta. I guess I kind of opened myself to this since we're about to get the 5th one. So let me go to the orbiter real quick. And we'll look at what our options are. For our first 5 stack. Ooh. So we're going to end up with 2 blues, 2 reds, and a yellow. And let me see if I can actually... Please tell me there's an easy to read graph. Oh god, there is. Okay, so 2 blues, 2 reds, and a yellow. 2 of these, 2 of these, and 1 of the middle ones. Honestly, the big thing that people are going to try to do for the first set is move mods, things that you've modded for on your frame, move them onto the shards. It's just straight up what it's going to be. If you can throw 2 blue shards with energy on, right, onto your frame, and that frees up a flow spot, and you can just deal with the 100 energy, right? Like if you don't need it for a rotation. Like if I was running equilibrium flow, I would probably do this. Like there are a lot of frames that I'm running equilibrium flow where it's not really like a heavy energy using frame. Like I would probably use this on Neja. Cuz I just run equilibrium on Neja, right? So maybe like a single blue shard would be good. And then I do like a health per second or something like that, just because of the slow bleed over, right? So let's see. We have melee crit damage, primary status chance, secondary status chance, ability strength, ability duration. I think the first one people are going to be going for, honestly, is ability duration. Honestly, is 2 of these or 3 of them? Well, let's go with 2. 2 of these could potentially allow you to take off, like, what is it, augur message, if you don't need the shield gate. Or let's see, a Tau Forge and a regular one of these would allow you to get rid of, what is it, a Constitution, and that's a pretty heavy drain. Yeah, I think that one's got like 13 cap cost on it, right? So I could see people focusing that for now. The yellow one, the effectiveness of the health orbs and the energy orbs does not stack with equilibrium. I was hoping that would be like spaghetti coated in, but it doesn't. Probably did that on purpose. Casting speed is probably going to be the name of the game. If you're on a frame that runs like natural talent, 2 yellow shards once we get it, and you just never mod for natural talent again, right? Or you do 1 yellow and change to your operator. Was it Matarai? And you just never run natural talent again. Let's see, health, energy, armor. To be honest, for the slow bleed over of like adaptation and whatnot, when you're running like tankier builds, I'm actually kind of a fan of the constant health per second. I'm probably going to run one on Neja. Even though Neja has all of that health, there's so much slight bleed over where it's not a lot. And then you have like, because it's not going to be the health per second, right? Like you're not constantly taking health. But the issue is Arcane Grace doesn't trigger when you take shield damage, right? You have to take health damage. Um, so while Neja puts like his 3 up, right, and you have those iframes, you'll finish the iframes with more health, and so you'll automatically regen. Obviously, there's diminishing returns with Grace, right? Um, but like if you were to do like an armor and a health stack, Neja would be pretty tanky. It wouldn't be anything game breaking, but it would be like the armor helps with the shield. Um, Energy per second is pretty nice. Health doesn't hurt. It would definitely scale. Um, Ooh, actually, hold on. Wait a second. Hold on. What is it? Arcane Grace. What's the actual breakdown on that? 6% regen per second. So if you could rely. Okay, so it's 5 regen per second all the time. Or I can do. Wow, that's actually kind of troll. If you do the health shard, or if you do the Boreal shard and you do the health one with Arcane Grace, it actually increases your health regen by 9 when it's triggered. To be honest, if you do like a Tau Forge, that's so much of a difference, and you would always have it. That's actually pretty interesting. If you can reliably proc this, you might actually want um the one going all the time, right? Unless you have something that causes your damage to scale with health, right? Dare to dream. Um, but it is what it is, right? And what is it? I think Garuda is going to be able to abuse the health per second, potentially. If you do like 3 of them, you can get rid of the whenever you spend energy, you get health back, right? So she's constantly over the bar to be able to trigger it. Well, if you can stack enough health regen on her, you don't even need the arcane, right? Like, it is what it is. So, that's actually pretty interesting. So, if you can reliably trigger it, arcane, just getting the health is almost twice as effective, is 80% more effective when it's triggered. But obviously, there's a chance for it to trigger, right? I think that's going to be one of those things where at lower levels you would do health, but at higher levels you would want the constant HP or the constant health per second. I think that's how that's going to work, right? Because even with my Neja's damage reduction, it's like 99.98% damage reduction or something like that. I would want the constant HP per second. Yeah, no, I said it right the first time. I wouldn't want the health. Sorry, small tangent. But that's actually pretty interesting, though. Is Grace would get more benefit out of the health. And I guess because health is such a small health pool, it would be better to have the effective HP. But your EHP would go up more if you had health. More than armor. I know my Neja would need health. But anyway. It's probably going to be 2 ability durations. Going back to the shard meta, it's probably going to be 2 ability durations, a casting speed, and out of these, it's literally going to be whatever benefits the frame the most. I would recommend either do 2 energy or do armor and health per second for the blue shard. If you have trouble staying alive, I know a lot of you don't. I've seen some of you guys in game, and there are a couple of you that are far enough in the game that you're like me, where you literally have nothing to do. So you're probably shield gating anyway. So just go energy in that point. But if you're in any way, shape, or form health tanking, armor and health per second. So for now, that's probably that. Okay, moving on. Hey, maybe this won't be a 2-hour video. I have been working on a damage attenuation workaround. And I can't report anything solid so far. But I was looking at this page, right? And I know this is going to be troll, but what I was actually doing to mess with it, and this isn't anything solid, right? This is just what I've been messing around with, trying to get decent damage out of. Because the issue is they're going to mess with damage attenuation. They're going to adjust it. They said on the dev stream it's not going away, but they're going to adjust it. So you have damage. The things that it takes into consideration for the damage attenuation is total damage, total crit multiplier if damage instance crits, total rate of fire or attack speed, total multi-shot, body part multipliers. But it's like a slight moving average, right? So what my thinking was, and this was painful, but it actually yielded like somewhat mixed results. If you run negative crit damage, because all of these multipliers are literally just multiplied together, right? Shouldn't this fuck with the numbers, right? Like if they're just straight up multiplied together, and you have a negative crit multiplier, it should turn it negative, right? There's no way that this is like a theoretical, practical application of the math, right? There's no way that this would be the actual spaghetti code, like the actual numbers. Especially when they say what the damage reduction percentage is. 1 minus damage multiplier or damage multiplier or modifier times 100. But if you turn it negative, it instantly turns this into a 100x multiplier. So the issue that I was having is I literally don't have the Riven for it. One thing I was actually having to use, I formed a base new core because it was the only Riven that I had. Oh my god, that is so loud. Right? I need to throw some more format at it. And the reason being was because of this Riven. Negative 0.2 crit multiplier. And the fact is besides the Incarnon weapons with the Zada cheese, right? I did more damage with this than like a Kuva comb. Because I was using Zadas, right? And the punch through applies. So I was getting like 25k headshots on what is essentially a bullet hose weapon. But the problem is, like, it was sort of a proof of concept. There's something going on with it. The negative definitely boosts the damage rate. So what I was thinking is, at least at a minimum, is I'm not going for like a raw damage thing, right? Because I can't really use crit. What I was actually having to do is you need to mess with the moving average to prevent the damage attenuation from triggering. Because if you're constantly going back and forth, because the damage attenuation is a moving average, is you would go from like a positive to a negative, so the average is 0, right? And the problem is this weapon doesn't do enough damage to trigger the attenuation. But the damage didn't go down. So I'm literally at the point where I'm trying to find the most garbage Riven on the planet. And I don't have any Riven slots. So this is what my thinking is. The damage didn't go down. And I was getting like 8-9k headshots with Deadhead. And I tried a bunch of different arcanes. The only time, and the part of the issue is you cannot go a dot. It has to be raw damage. So, like, I'm probably going to have to put viral on here. And I noticed that with this weapon, that Seeker, the punch through, was applying also. So, like, if I would shoot something, the punch through didn't trigger the multi-shot part of the damage attenuation. But galvanized shot didn't do shit. This didn't apply at all, and I couldn't keep the damage up because it's radiation, right? But I don't know. I got to work on this, so this is what I've been working on for the past day instead of, you know, making videos for you guys. But just being transparent, because I am working on it. Because the issue is that there's plenty of weapons that you can burn down the Archon with. But you run out of ammo with all of them because they nerfed the ammo economy so bad. But the only one, and it's literally cheating, that did anything was because you're not going to be killing anything. You have decent-ish multi-shot. Galvanized shot didn't do anything, so you could do this. You can't use any of the galvanized mods because you're not going to be getting kills with it. But you can go crit and just stack up radiation so you get as much of a multiplier on that as possible. And with this, just in order to get some other form of damage on the damn weapon, I actually ended up using this and it wasn't too bad. Cascadia Empowered. On status effect, deals plus 750 damage, matching the damage type of the status effect. I'm honestly thinking about swapping some of this over for viral, just to get viral on the weapon, because that's the other one. It's weak to rate the armor's alloy, so it's weak to radiation, and the health pool is weak to viral, right? Or did I say that backwards? Hold on. Wait, isn't it? Yeah, the icons aren't loading. Okay, flesh is +2 viral. Alloy armor is radiation. So radiation is obviously a higher priority, right? But unless you can get the same multipliers, I don't know. I have to test it because you can't get rid of the armor. It might just be better to just say screw it, right? And just keep radiation. But I was getting as much damage as I was with like any other weapon, unless it's an Incarnon weapon with the Incarnus bonus damage using Zadas, because those generally one-shot. The only other exception would be like the Heck. If you didn't one-shot with the Heck, and you actually got to see like the regular pellets, this was doing the same amount of damage as the Heck. But the big thing is this is a battery, and it's a beam, so it's got the double tick rate, right? But with this, with Cascadia Empower, benefits a lot from the double tick. And the damage isn't... As long as you're just shooting the Archon, the damage isn't bad. And there's nothing to scale here. It was using a Riven multi-shot fire rate. It's just basically a slightly stronger lethal torrent, right? But as long as you don't go anything conditional, you can basically just sit there and just shoot at the damn thing. But this is what I've been using, and it was pretty successful in killing the Archon. Without using like anything that breaks damage attenuation or relies on like 100 pellets and a multi-shot alt fire. This did it. You just got to be able to stay alive. And I was using Nezha to like face tank everything. But anything that's battery powered, so kit guns. Okay, talking to some member in the clans with this. just the guys that are worried about like doing the Archon hunts and thinking like they're missing anything right now. It's just a layer of RNG. If you get to it like a month from now or 2 months from now, you're at the same place that you were. There is nothing to worry about in terms of like missing a special Archon hunt. That being said, I have been helping people in the clan. Like literally just carrying them, and in the alliance, just carrying them through the fight. And I don't mind it. Just don't die, right? Um, any of you guys that are in clans, I'd highly recommend people who aren't expecting you to play the game for them. I would highly recommend helping people out that are maybe just having trouble with the game, but not necessarily, but are actually trying. Obviously, help those people out. They're treasures. Um, but it's just people are. I'm sensing some FOMO with the Archon hunts. You guys aren't missing anything. It's just a new. It's a new health bag to shoot. You can get different rewards, right? It's basically a weekly sortie for those of you that don't know, with just like slightly tougher enemies. But the shards aren't anything game breaking. You're not missing out. Okay, hold on. I am gonna skip this one. Talking about people not wanting to leave clans that they think are dead. I guess I can talk on that a little bit. Sorry. Listen, when you play Warframe, it's a game. You're there to enjoy it. If the clan that you're in dies, been there. If their clan that you're in dies, don't be afraid to leave it. If it picks back up and you're not like the owner of the clan, if you're the owner of a clan on the other hand, and your clan dies, I'm sorry, that shit's your fault. Okay? If you own the clan and you let it die, it's your fucking fault. But if you're like the new person in the clan, don't even worry about it. Not saying like, you shouldn't feel grateful to the people that helped you. But it's just not. The benefit of a well-running clan is a better environment for you. But the benefit of a well-running clan to the clan owner, the warlord, is that they have a good running clan. If they don't value it, there's no reason you need to be valuing this stuff more than the clan owner. That's the person. That's my job in my clan, is to set the value of what the space is. If I disappear for like 2-3 months, I expect to come back to an empty clan. Okay? Like, if I'm not there and there's no reason for it, and I just bail, I would not expect to come back to anybody in my clan. It's my job to be the moving average, or to at least set the boundaries of like what, because I do a social clan, just here are the guidelines, blah, 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 here's where the clan's going to go, and be as clear and concise about it so everybody just understands what's going on, and then everybody gets to go have fun. There's benefits to it, where we're not like a competition clan, or like we don't an event clan, or we're doing like survivals. There's benefits in how loose we get to be, but the cons is we never really get event rewards, even though the people that are high level are top tier. Like there are times where a lot of us rank on the leaderboards, but it doesn't matter because like there's a bunch of MR10s and MR8s that literally can't do the event. So there's some give and take, but we don't care about the trophies. But yeah, it's one of those things. If you're in a clan and you're not the warlord and it dies, and even if you're thinking like, oh, it's a bunch of friends, listen, if they were friends, they'd be playing the game with you or inviting you to whatever the hell they're doing. Okay, so just if they're good people and they start playing the game again, just join them again. Don't worry about like saving the clan or whatever. That being said, if you want to stay there for nostalgia's sake, you can sit around with a bunch of objects, or you can actually hang out with people, right? Um, oh, talking about if you should contribute to a clan. I can only really say from my point of view is I actively tell the newer people in my clan they don't have to contribute because all the research is done. Like we have like two pigments, literally two pigments that need to be farmed, and I don't even like the color, and I don't care to farm them. There have been times where people have helped me farm, like pigments and whatnot. There were like a couple at the very end, but like there's like what 50 pigments or something, and I needed help with like two of them, and there's like two left. And it was just the annoying one. And the only thing that I really needed help with was the Zanuka Hunter. And we just dropped beacons. That's how we got through it. But in terms of like new people contributing, I don't think it's an obligation, nor should it be expected. Even I would, well, actually, there's some nuance to this. Okay. If you're in a hardcore clan, right? If you either run a hardcore clan, run a hardcore alliance, are a member of these, and it is a hardcore clan, the name of the game is you should be playing it. And I would say demanding resources is fair game. Demanding plat is something entirely, and I don't think you should be able to touch that. That's the other person's money. That's like reaching in. Not saying I've run into this, but I'm just like line in the sand, right? Nobody should be expected to contribute plat. But resources that you can farm in game, I would say is completely reasonable. If you're a hardcore clan, social clan, I don't give a shit about the new people farming stuff. I can farm it 10 times faster than them. Even though we're, what? What's the middle tier? Not mountain, whatever the one's below it. Hold on. What's the size of my clan? Storm clan. Yeah, whatever that one is. I can still farm everything. Because I play the game way more than everybody else, except for like one person. And they're on a bit of a hiatus. So I would never expect in a social clan somebody to be responsible for like coughing up resources. That being said, there have been times, and most of the people in the alliance are happy to do it. There have been times where like me and the boys have been like super bored, and it's like I don't even care what we do. I just want to pop relics or farm steel essence. And one of the other clan members in the alliance will be like, "Hey, we're building decorations. You wouldn't happen to have any polymer?" And it's like, "Okay, whatever," because you can donate clan to clan resources, and we'll just go farm polymer for a couple hours. Like especially when the One Moon clan was decorating. Oh my god, that was a team effort amongst the clan leaders trying to get teams together to get that shit farmed up. But the fact is like 3 players or 4 players, a squad that's like a proper farm team, farming correctly, farming the right tile set, farming the right room, with the same Warframe setup. Everybody's running boosters, everybody's running Smitas, and the time to sit in a node to farm up can blow out of the water anything a new person can contribute. It's not even close. You know what I mean? So like a casual clan, I would never dream of that. And I straight up tell them, You don't have to contribute. There's nothing that you can contribute for now that would in any way, shape, or form help the clan right now that I couldn't farm myself 10 times faster. I just want you to get up to speed. I want you to enjoy the game. We'll worry about grinding resources out, because there are a bunch of farms in the game where it's sort of like where you have like gear checks and like modding checks and like damage checks. There's like the Cyber with the 30,000 cryotic. It's like a patience check. Like farming up Equinox or farming up Nidus. Like, you have to be patient. And until recently, Ash was in that category also. Like an 11% drop chance on rotation C. That is absurd for a Warframe. And Railjack. So there's enough stuff that is a huge pain in the ass that I would rather them work on getting through the star chart. I would rather them work on doing mods, doing open world bounties, getting sets from those open world bounties. I would rather them be doing that than having them sit in a mission with me for 2 hours farming polymer or plastids or hexanon or whatever the hell the thing is we're farming, right? So in terms of like obligations to contribute, my rule is anybody below MR10 and like 200 in-game hours, I expect nothing from. And like straight up, I expect absolutely nothing from. The only time I've ever really asked for help personally was when doing pigments. And it was like, listen, we're going to go sit in this thing. It's a long farm, but if a couple of us go and sit in this, we can knock it out in like an hour. And you just contribute. It's a pigment. You just contribute it to the clan. It's not affecting your resources in any way. Just can you help? And there have been times like that. But it wasn't like their own resources. It was pigments. They can't spend those. At what point would somebody be obligated to? This is sort of a nuance thing. In terms of straight up obligated, like you owe us, never. But in terms of at what point would you feel, if you feel like you are far enough in the game where you feel like you need to contribute, I think that's the bar in and of itself. Because the way this came up was an individual that was like low teens that plays Warframe was like, oh, well, I'm far enough in the game. I feel like I'm obligated to contribute now because you guys have helped us out. And I had to explain, it was like, well, you have to think about it in terms of like, it was a massive help to you, but the cost to me was next to nothing. Like in terms of like hooking them up with like base mods, right? Like that's nothing for somebody like me. But for them, I took a lot of RNG out of the game. I didn't hook them up with galvanized mods, so nobody side-eye me. But it was like pressure points and like, I think the most, excessive mod is I think I gave him a berserker. So I gave him like base mods for like melees and like the elemental mods, because there's a couple of those where they take a bit to get just because of their location in the star chart, and I gave him stuff like that and base mods for like frames and stuff where it was a huge acceleration for them, and then I helped him with builds. It took me a total of like maybe 10 minutes. Right? Like, it's just not that big of a deal. I'm here to help, here to improve the new player experience, because Warframe isn't going to effectively. Though the new player experience is considerably better than what I had to go through. We had skill trees back in the day. and you were locked out of abilities if you didn't buy a catalyst. Anyway, if you feel like you've finally gotten to the point personally that you feel like, oh, it's now time for me to contribute, just and you're not like a clan lead or an alliance lead, and you're like a member, just ask them what they need for the dojo if you don't have roles. And like a clan lead or an alliance lead is going to tell you what they need. Like if it's like, hey, listen, I got some time. Are we decorating anything right now? Are we doing like a farm for like polymer pigments or whatever? What's going on? I've got some time to kill. What should I be focusing on? Just work whatever the resource is into your daily playing, but don't ruin your gaming experience. So if it's like, oh, you need polymer stuff, right? Or plastids. Plastids is big. Just run farms. Not like farms, but just do missions in those areas if you have the option to. So it's like, oh, maybe when you're popping relics, you just pop relics in an area that drops plastids. Or like polymers, pretty big too. What's the other one? I'm drawing a blank. Alloy? I remember polymer and plastids being the massive ones. Gallium can sort of be expensive just because of the drop rate, but it's not horrible. Polymer plastids. I don't remember Rubido being an issue. I think Hexanon kicks in the ass a bit too. Just because of its drop rates. And neural sensor neurodes. No, neurodes wasn't bad, but polymer and plastids were pains. I thought when we started decorating the dojo, I thought I was sitting pretty with 30 million plastids. Man, was I wrong. I bingoed out after the second room. Okay. But yeah, okay, so just final thing, if it's a social clan, just run missions in areas that give that type of resource, but don't go out of your way for it. Like if you're popping relics or something, just sort of change your farming location a little bit. But if you're in a hardcore clan, get those farm teams ready. It's kind of expected. Justifiably, like you're in a clan that is there to try hard, right? Like you are there to play the game at the highest level, at the most efficient level. So it's completely okay for them to ask and then to expect it. When you go to like a hardcore, like an endurance clan or like an event-based clan, leaderboards, like there's all sorts of stuff like that. When you go to those higher tier clans, there are expectations, but there are also benefits. They probably have fantastic looking dojos because of the resource farms. For mine probably looks pretty good, but I am nowhere near the room cap. Some of those dojos are, the older ones. It's not that hard to hit it. I mean, obviously it's a bit of effort, but it's not insane to be at like the room cap for dojos. But, and plus having the knowledge base of the people there, you probably, with like the RVs, PVs, Quasars, was it AK-47 Empress? Those big clans, those high tier clans, high octane. I know a lot of those guys. Wonderful people. But once you figure out the specific way of doing something, that's kind of the way that you do it. It's not like, oh, well, I don't like that build. It's like, no, this is the build. Like, this is it. If you're doing something and it's like for like a event-based thing, when those people go into leaderboard event-based modes, get out of their way. So if you're in that way, there's a time sink and a cost associated with it. So don't be surprised if like on those higher tier clans, They're like, hey, we need 5 million polymer by the end of the week from every member. And if you don't deliver, they have every right to kick you out. If it's a hardcore clan, I see nothing wrong with that. Especially with how easy it is to farm polymer and stuff like that. So, the obligation, there's no moral or ethical obligation. But if you're in a clan that's a social clan, donate when you can, dude. If you're in an endurance clan, you better be on. Like, if they're a very active clan and they set like a really short AFK thing where it's like, oh, if you're not there for so many days, that's their gist. In order to be in that space, you got to be there. If they need resources, everybody's farming resources because everybody's moving in a specific thing. Now, I would hope there would be like voting on it, and I would assume there is. But once everybody makes the decision, if you're like, oh, I don't want to do that, well, then you're the problem, right? And the same way you're like, oh, well, I don't have to do that. Well, they don't have to deal with you also. But that's like a high octane clan, though. Some people dig that stuff. I run a retirement home of sorts with new people. Let's see. Okay, I was actually asked about the perks of a social clan. People to hang out with. The struggles. The AFK kick timer for my clan is 90 days. Which, as far as like login requirements, right, is on the longer side. It's not absurd, but it's not as bad as like not having one. And even then, like, we have people that have like gone to college, joined the military, even got one guy doing tugboats. I don't care about how long those guys are away. I really don't. Just mark them immune, move on, right? As long as I know the person is coming back, those are also older people. So it's not like a kid going to college that played the game for like, and I mean older Warframe time, not like, well, actually they are older also, but I mean like Warframe time more particularly. They've been playing the game for a while. They're like high 20s. It's not like an MR3, right? An MR3, 2-3, if they're not on the game for like 3 months, they're not coming back. If they're MR2, MR3. But if they're like a 27, 28, and they're gone for 2-3 months, I don't care. Like, they're coming back eventually, right? Especially if they say it's like, oh, I only want to play like a couple weeks a year or something like that. If that's what their rhythm is, that's fine. So it's on a case-by-case basis. It becomes, and it's kind of weird. Occasionally, like, the Zittergeist of the clan becomes like super active, and because of how amorphous the structure of the clan is, occasionally weird and spontaneous shit can happen. It doesn't happen very often, but occasionally, like, the clan gets a hair in it, and like everybody wants to go do something. And because we're not like a high octane clan, those jumps like that are super enjoyable. They don't happen all the time. Everybody tends to have their rhythm. Everybody tends to log on at their same pace. If they log on every 2 weeks, that's their pace. If they play in the mornings, that's their pace. If they play at nights, that's their pace. You know what I'm saying? Like, it depends on the person. But I find, like, when things sort of like stir up and like everybody starts getting like involved about something, it's like super enjoyable because it's like a naturally spontaneous event. Where if it's like a more like higher end clan, the expectation is high effort. So it's not like the jump isn't as high. Where for my clan, it would be like a lower, more mellow tone to something really high. So it's like a nice adrenaline spike. Um, Struggles with the social clan. Uh, for me, as the clan lead, would be getting everybody to talk eventually. Like, it, I brought up last video about bringing people from YouTube into the clan. And admittedly, because of how many people I have to talk to, this process could take time. Not making the decision, but literally just hearing from people. Especially in the alliance and making like an official policy on it, if we even get that far. Because like if the alliance makes a decision, that's just kind of it, and the direction of the alliance will change accordingly. But if people are like, oh, I don't want that for my clan, blah blah blah, okay, then it's on a clan by clan basis, and we'll figure out some rules to structure it so it doesn't run over the clans that don't want it. So that's the sort of talking that we would need to do. Um, but it's literally because it's a social clan. A lot of times it can take a bit to talk to people. But once the decision gets made, the barrier after that is super low. And there's not really much arguing after that. Perks of a social clan is expectations for new people. I would highly recommend any brand new person to Warframe to join a social clan and then maybe make a decision later. And to be honest, probably maybe the more hardcore clans probably wouldn't be talking to you yet. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that you just might not be on their radar. Like especially ones where it's like an MR requirement of like 20 plus. They probably don't have any teachers. And it's not really their gist. It's probably filled with people that are honers at heart that want to play the game and get enjoyment out of playing the game at the highest level and being amongst people that want to do the game at the highest level. And training people is probably just a drag for them. There's nothing wrong with it. Like if that's how they want to enjoy the game, they are more than entitled to it. Especially because you make a clan and you literally section yourself off from everybody. Like, what's really to complain about that? Social clans, you actually get to know people on a slightly different, better level. Like yeah, it's not really a problem, but like a lot of times when we're trying to do like an hour run or a 2 hour run when they do come up, there is like a period of time where it's like with a higher octane clan, you wouldn't necessarily have to adjust other people's builds. They would know it already. Where for me, if I'm doing something with somebody and it's like an hour long mission, a lot of times I have to adjust their builds, especially if it's somebody in my clan, because there's a U shape, right? Um, Paint time. Also, sorry for people looking at it. Right. So you got this. You got number of nerds. MR1, and you got LR2, and there's like 6-7 people here. LR1, LR2, right? And the clan, my clan, looks like this, and then nobody. Actually, hold on. It's not that bad anymore. People were getting promoted. Right? So, like, around here, like, right now, we don't have a lot of new people. And a lot of it has to do with, like, the way people get recruited. But it does make some interesting dynamics, right? These people over here are essentially people that I recruited myself. Either when I not when I started the clan, but after I opened the clan. So they were down here, right? And then they moved over here because the clan's been around for a couple years now. So they've had time to get to like 23 plus easily. And the people here were part of like the second wave of expansion. And then you have this one, which would be like the first one, where we went from like Ghost Clan, and this would be a lot of the people from the Ghost Clan, plus people that got recruited when they were already higher level, plus the Ghost Clan members. And then you have the people when we went from Ghost Clan to Shadow Clan. So this would be like the Shadow Clan people. And now, obviously, it's a bell curve, right? So they're probably like this. And then this would be the new people. Where if it was like a more restrictive clan, you probably have people lined up a lot easier. In terms of like 23, 24, 25 minimum. Like if you're a clan, if you run a clan that has like an MR20 minimum, probably what you're looking at, not gonna lie, is if it's like one of the larger clans, it's going to be a bunch of experienced people, and then like an MR1 or an MR0 that owns the clan. Let's be honest, it's like an alt for the warlord of the original clan, right? But that's generally what the dynamic is as far as my clan in terms of like upgrading people. Is I have to wait for the first expansion. I had to wait for the first expansion of people to get competent to where I didn't have to worry about them. And then we expanded, and then I had to like train and educate the next group. Well, that was to 30. So then I had to teach them, and then like as people dropped off, you start shuffling people out that haven't been on for a long period. And then you hit 30 semi-active players. And this is like 90 days. And most of them were at like 30 days. Before we expanded into a Storm Clan, when we were a Shadow Clan, everybody that was in there was active like, I think it finally got down to like 22 days. And finally I was like, Jesus, like fine, we'll just expand, right? And now we're at 77 people. So it's going to be recruiting to 100. And then you'll filter out people that that just aren't playing anymore, so the number will stay at 100 until you end up with 100 active players, is how a social clan would expand. And obviously it accelerates as the clan gets bigger, but in terms of recruiting people, that's generally the gist. So you end up with these tiers. But that being said, like my clan is mostly groups of friends playing together. Like where it's like 4 people tried out Warframe at once, and then I found one of them and recruited, and then they invited their buddies. Is generally how it is. So it's a bunch of friend groups playing with each other, and then they'll like interact through the clan occasionally. It is generally the gist for my clan. So pretty good. I'm a fan of it because I'm generally a solo player. Though I do play with people in the clan a lot, and maybe speaking openly about it. Just take the following as like me just saying it as I think it. I'm not sure how much I agree with it, like how I feel about it. But like I find as the clan gets bigger, it is kind of disappointing that I know people less and less. Like, there are actually a couple of people in the clan that I've never talked to, and we're only at 70-something people. There's hundreds of people in the Alliance that I don't even know. So it's one of those things where it's like, oh, they're in my Alliance, but, like, they don't know who I am. Like, I'm not saying, like, I need to be famous, but, like, if there's an issue, I need them to know at least, oh, Gamble's the alliance leader, I'm having an issue. And they can at least know they can talk to me with that. And to be honest, that's more of a me issue than a them issue, right? Okay. Probably about the closest thing to a hot take. All right. The difference between building poorly and having a build style. I buried this one. The answer basically comes down to whether you know better or not. Um, a build style is knowing what options are available, having access to those options, being able to execute those options, but through personal choice, favoring specific ones. Not because it's your only option or you're building poorly. So when I see like 400% crit chance, like crit chance builds on like weapons that are impact, that is building poorly. Now, if it was 400% crit chance and like 9x crit damage on a slash weapon that force procs slash, please share your build. But that being said, like it basically comes down to how you enjoy playing Warframe and fitting a play style to how you enjoy it. But if your build has issues going somewhere or playing against people or playing against specific enemies, your build choice is not an issue, or your ability to change your build. It's not a play style. It's you're building poorly. Not saying like, oh, it's bad and you should feel bad. Because I modify my builds all the time. Like this one, I pretty sure I tried it out and didn't like it. But like there are a couple like I don't even use anymore. Like the Cronins. I don't use these anymore. And I did my first level cap with these. This was my first level cap build. And now that it's done, I don't touch these anymore. Because it's like, okay, they did level cap. Okay, we're done. And I just moved on to something else. The difference between building poorly and having a play style is modifying your weapon to enhance how you want to play, but it requires you being aware of the surroundings. If you're preferring magnetic and then going into Grineer tile sets is not a play style. The play style has to work. Like for me personally, I don't like the high octane builds. I find them, obviously they work, right? Like the full frame arcane min maxed. Like okay, hold on, I'll just okay, so I was just talking about the Cronin. Oh, hold on. Venkas are a super good example of this. Okay, so like let's say you wanted to do like a super high octane level cap one shot build, right? You wouldn't even do that. You'd do this, you do reach, you do faction mod, double crit damage. You could do this, and then you would do your handy dandy crit chance, crit damage ribbon, because of course you've rolled it. And then you would do something like this, right? Well, if you notice, I'm missing some things. Okay. So if you were to run something like this, you'll notice there are some things that aren't on here. And that's because it's a high octane build. And you would go here. And you would do this. Okay, so you would do... Actually, I need duration first. Hold on. Never minded. And you would run, like, message, right? And then you would come over here. And you would do strike. And you would pick between striker... Not striker fury. You would pick between fury or... Not strike, fury... Yeah, it is strike. And you would run these. And then you would do glad mods. And you might throw what? Rolling guard. And there's your level cap build. And you would just go do millions of damage. You would outsource pressure point and prime pressure point onto Arcane Fury and gain stacks that way. So this would be a full Ash Prime melee damage build. And you would just run around and hit shit for millions of damage. Because this works, this buffs your melee. This enables you to keep duration up as much as possible. You have multiple mods buffing your main source of damage. Everything on your Venkas is doing slash damage. You could possibly even get rid of this and do more slash if you want, but it would be a personal choice because you would also know that Malicious Raptor has a shit ton of force slash. So if you didn't like it, you could min-max even more and buff with the Glad Vice. And just personal choice, just rely on the force slash. You could run this to level cap. I know people that have done it. So this would be like a personal choice, full octane melee carry. And you wouldn't even prime. You wouldn't even need to. And just to prove the point, let's go bop something.
The multitude of creatures you have immortalized would cry out in thanks.
Let's go bop something in the simulacrum for a couple million. Okay. 90k unranked, or no combo. 21k. We're getting reds at 4x combo. Quarter mil. $2 million. Right? So it would be a build choice. Now this is a crap build. I would love having Weeping Wounds on it. And Condition Overload. But it's a choice though. It's a choice. And as soon as you understand it, like, you'll know why this build works. It's because I'm getting the damage from the arcane. This is stronger than Prime Pressure Point, but it costs you an arcane slot. Now, most of you guys know this, but I'm just saying, like, for those that don't, there is a build style that is appropriate to it. And then you can do other stuff. Like, what is it? Yeah, this one. And just make it a joke. 150% crit chance. And you can get it even higher. Now, it's not flat. Jesus Christ, it's not flat. But you could also then run like Roar, right? For the double dip on the slash procs. And hit for millions and millions. That was one heavy for 2 million, which, to be honest, it's the Venkas. That's not hard to do. But you see what it is, and this would be like a crit centric build. So the difference between building poorly and like having a style is literally basically you're having a style implies that you have options, but it literally comes down to making it work to where it can work everywhere. I know this build can be adjusted based on the enemy. Like if I was going against Corpus, mod for Toxin, and just destroy them with Toxin procs. Corrupted, tiny bit, the tiniest bit of Toxin. Like almost an unranked 60-60 mod. Actually, let's see what our percentage is. Yeah, that'd be good. You want slightly more slash. So it'd be something like this. The slightest change. And I'd still keep reds. And this would be a level cap corrupted build. And you just go around and smash shit. If you wanted even more damage, you could flex out the Vice and put Condition Overload in. But you have to prime it, because otherwise you're just going to be hitting stuff with slash. And then it would be weaker. So the difference is whether you can make it work and you have the flexibility to. If you're just doubling down on one stat, like doubling and tripling down on a single stat, or if the element isn't matching up or taking advantage of something, it's a bad build. I mean, maybe it's lined up. But if just learn the basics of underneath it, there's nothing that keeps a bad build bad. But it's literally just understanding and choice. If it's a nuanced bro choice, that's different. But just throwing a bunch of base damage and crit damage on stuff because you like red numbers, eventually you're gonna come into an enemy where you just don't do anything, and a lot of times that's Steel Path, and that's where people don't like doing it. But anyway, thank you all for hanging out. It's enough of a rant. Have a blessed day, guys. Made sure to catch up on a couple of posts. But again, oh God, I hope an hour and 40 minutes isn't the new 50. But anyway, here you go. Oh, seriously? Anybody that can give feedback on this video, if you've gotten to this point and you're hearing me say this, give me a rating on the ads of how bad it is. It wants so many goddamn ads for how long these videos are. I just need to know how annoying they are. Like if it's really bad, I'll start removing some. But just tell me how the ads were. I made sure, and none of them should be unskippable ads. If you're getting those, let me know. You should be able to skip all of them. Thank you though. Have a blessed day, guys.